Okay, there you go. So I finally made it to work the screen. Not to work, but it's a starting point, right? So I had some issues first with my soldering. So remember what I said at the beginning? The first step to be made like as good as possible is to make sure that all the soldering and all the wiring is good, all the connections are good. So mine wasn't. So I spent 2 hours thinking that my issue was maybe the way I was sending the pointer, the way I was trying to retrieve the data, and maybe my settings in the ID. And then I try to look around, and then spend time trying to print something the way. And then at the end, I just put my multimeter test continuity, and then there wasn't any connection. Then looking behind, the wire was not soldered. Oh, okay. So, but okay. Then if I go here, let's first take a look at the data sheet again. So if you take a look at the data sheet, where are you? It's around here. Okay. So if you take a look at the data sheet, so you can see 1/8 and then 1/8 and then 1/8. So it's the 8 bits being sent, or 8 cycles of clock, another 8 cycles of clock, and another 8. So all conversions are made in 24 cycles of the clock. So the first 8 cycles, your 8 bits, has to carry your command. So your mode and this A2, A1, A0, if you take a look at the table, it sets what you want to read. So if you go, let me open another one. I think I have this table open in another one. And open it. So it's the first time I did this ever, so sorry. So let me put it over here. Okay. If this M, it means it's measure. So if I want to measure the Y position, I gotta go here. So the command A2, A1, A0 is 001. So I need to send 001 at the bit positions for A2, A1, and A0. And if I want to read X position, so it's this one. See, I'm reading X position. So it's 101. Okay, so if I gotta read 2 times, right? Because I want to know X and Y position to get my point at this screen. So now if I go here, and I have this defined. So I got X position, Y position. You see I add 101, and this one I add 001, because when you send your command, your starting bit has to be high. So it has to start already with 1. So for the first data, so for the first byte, sorry, that I gotta send here, I gotta send the command. So I just build it. So starting point, which is 0, which is 1, has to be high. And then I'm reading X position right now. So X position, and the mode that I'm doing it, because I have 8 bits and 12 bits, I'm choosing 8 bits. And then this mode DFR, because you can read a single or differential mode. So I'm just using the differential mode. Okay, and then I just transmit this data with this command, and then the next 2 bytes, so another 16 cycles of the clock, the driver will then read and give me the conversion, because between here it needs 3 cycles. You see this acquire, this last 3 cycles of the clock in here is the time needed for the driver to convert the data from the touchscreen into something that means the position of it. And the next 12 to 13 to 13 clocks, it's your conversion number that you needed. So you send the data, and then you retrieve those guys over here. But to complete the data, you're gonna send 2 bytes with it. So you will send 1 and 2, and then you're gonna have some dummy bits that doesn't really matter. You can just ignore it. So the last 3 bits are just dummy. Okay, so what I'm doing then is I will send my data and then retrieve 2 bytes. I will read twice, completing the 24 cycles of the clock. Okay, and if you see over here, I was printing because I was debugging before, and then I'm saving them this way because I was having issue and I didn't know if it was the way I'm manipulating the data or not. So I'm not an expert in C, and then it's this way right now. Later I'll clean it up. And then let's see, and then to see if it's working is now to check if every time I press on the screen I got some data back, and that data is kind of constant. If let's say if I press the same position on the screen like 3 times, I expect to be a number close to the same, right? If I press in the same position, or if I press and hold it, I expect the data to be like close to like the numbers not being so far from each other. Like it's one thing, and if I press in the other corner, I expect to be very different, right? So, and another thing is because the data sheet says that the driver is expecting the data to be sent on the horizon edge of the clock, and it's sending data back on the fallen edge of the clock. So if you go into the logic analyzer, you can just set fallen edge for the data, for the MISO, the master in, and then let's see, if I read it, there's nothing because there's no data being sent, right? It should have none because I'm not pressing, so the value should be 0, and that's the case, right? So, but if I press it, I expect to trigger because I expect data to be coming, and then I will have a fallen edge, and then I expect then to the logic analyzer to detect it and read it. So if I press it, okay, I touch it, and then it's sampling. I got data. So I press it just very quickly. I expect to have 2, no more than 2. So let's say, and then it's no, okay, it's a little messy. Let's try again. So if you do this, okay, there you go. So I send my data, so mostly, right? And then I'm expecting to retrieve data from 2 bytes of data. Could be something at the beginning, then 0, because it depends on the number. I'm not sure which it's gonna be, right? So, but I'm getting then 2 bytes of data for my X position, which is the first one I'm reading, and then okay, and then I got this and 2 more bytes of data for my Y position, and then later, because I wasn't holding the touch screen, I was expecting, okay, I will get like 2 bytes for each, or maybe 4, because depending on the time I'm holding it, right? And then later everything is gonna be null, and then that's what happens. So I got 0, 0, 0, 0 for everything else that comes later or after. Okay, but now let's see at the CoolTerm. The CoolTerm is retrieving the data and then printing in hex values. You see this 30, 30 is 0, 0. So 0, 0 for X and 0, 0 for Y, because there is nothing being retrieved, so it's 0. So, but if I press it, okay, now I got something. You see, it's not 0, 0, it's something for the position. And if I hold it, okay, I don't have any zeros because I keep holding it. Okay, let's change the position and see if it's very different. So now I'm in one corner, so 35, 31, and then let's go to the other corner. Now it's 32, 35. You see, it's very different. That's what I was expecting. Now, next step is to keep reading the data sheet and try to decode it. So let's see how it goes. Thank you, guys.